Back when I first bought my house, my very first house, I had no idea what the interest rate was. None whatsoever. I got approved for a loan and I contacted the smartest person I knew at that time. Well, maybe not, but she was pretty smart. She was my daughter's godmother, a graduate with a master's at MIT. Graduate from MIT, and I thought, let me ask somebody that's pretty smart. How do I buy a house? And it just so happened that her cousin had just graduated real estate school. So my friend was smart, but maybe the cousin just graduated real estate school. I don't know. In any case, what that resulted for me was just get a house. Because I was like her first client. So no buyer's consultation, no this is what you need to know. And not to mention back then, when I first bought my very first house, realtors were using a book to determine what came out for that week. Whatever houses were on the market for that week, I could look at it in a book. So if this didn't age me, then yeah, it was a long time ago. I'm saying all of that to say that I wasn't at all concerned about what the interest rate was. I just wanted to get a house. So I'm telling you this because now everyone's talking about the interest rate. And it's a smart thing to talk about because it is continuing to escalate. It's continuing to escalate. And what that means, if you are interested in buying right now with a loan, is that your buying power is going to be slightly decreased, because more of the funds on a monthly payment are going to be going toward paying the interest. So, yeah, it's a big deal right now, especially since this time last year, the interest rates were slightly over 3%, and now it's slightly over 7. But I'm telling you about when I first bought my first house, because when I first bought my first house, the interest rate was nearly 9%. And tell you that I didn't know what was going on so much at all, I am not even to this day sure of whether or not I had an interest or buy down on the interest rate. I really don't know because it wasn't really explained to me. It was sign here, sign here, sign here. And because I wanted to get a house, I really wanted a house, I signed. I was getting a house. So, hey, I'm telling you this because it's important to own a home, and what the interest rate is shouldn't really be the major or the primary concern to you. I'll tell you what people are thinking about, especially those who already own a home. They're thinking about, but it's less expensive for me to stay in this home that's too small for my growing family, because the interest rate that I have at 5% or 4%, depending on when you bought it, is better than the 7% that I might be going to. But if the house is too small for your growing family, it might cost you more to stay in this too small house. Or if the community has changed and you're now driving across town to get to your job, or you're driving to go to enjoy the favorite restaurants that you visit, or the theater is way downtown, or the things that you really like to participate in are so far away that you're using a lot of money on a monthly basis just to commute. Now, you say, but that doesn't add up to how much it will cost over the years. Well, that's correct. It won't add up on a monthly basis over the years. However, we know that the federal government issues the interest rates. So they're not going to stay at 7%. At some point, and admittedly, we don't know what point that is going to be, but it's going to come down. The interest rate is going to come down. Consider this though. Do you want to stay in that house and wait for the interest rate to come down while it escalates up to 19%? How uncomfortable would that be to stay in a neighborhood that you already know today that you want to leave? For whatever the reasons, for whatever the circumstances, because everybody has different reasons that they decide that they want to move. Is it more uncomfortable to stay there for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years than to go ahead and do what you need to do to move on from this residence that you're in right now? Because it's not 19%, and I know that we have experienced in my lifetime where the interest rate was 19%. Do you want to wait that long? Something to think about, right? Something to visit with your family. But if this is your first time that you're thinking about buying a house, the first home that you're going to own, you should really just be on to, I've got to get a house, because right now you're paying 100% interest. 100%. If you're paying rent, you're not going to get any of that back. You're not going to have the opportunity for the house that you've purchased to appreciate in value. You're just going to continue to pay 100% interest. Yeah. If you're not in your own home, but perhaps you're renting from a family member, and that seems, okay, I'll just wait to save more money, and then I'll have more of a down payment. Again, as the interest rates rise, believe it or not, so are the property values going to rise. Here's why. We're in Atlanta. It's a great place to live, ranked by Money Magazine as the #1 place to move to. Corporations are moving their businesses here. Yeah, so in Atlanta, I don't know about what other place you might be watching me from. I don't know what's going on there. But I can tell you right now today, even though some of the prices have started to come down just a little bit in certain areas, for the most part, the average property value is still slightly over $400,000, the same way it was this time last year. So we haven't started to experience a price decrease. We haven't. You're watching someone on some big corporations, cha-ching, cha-ching, and they've got all the data. Well, yeah, the data is going to be different on a national scale than what it is locally. See, I'm from Los Angeles. When I moved to Georgia, just telling you personal references. When I moved to Georgia, I could get a house in California, roughly 300,000 plus or minus, but that was going to be the size of a matchbox on a railroad track. And that wasn't what I wanted for me or my family. So I made the personal decision to move across country away from all of my sphere of influence, my immediate contacts, aunts, uncles, cousins, all of that, so that I could afford to buy a house. In California, it was around 300,000, but in Georgia at that time, it was around 70,000 plus or minus, or at least that's what I bought, my first time house. But the differences from around the country are going to vary. Right now in California, the property values are still significantly higher than they are here in Georgia. Same for New York or Chicago. Miami is very different as well. But the insurance is much more expensive in Miami because they have different flood conditions. So when you're looking at those national numbers, they're considerably different, and you have to look at what's happening locally. So here in Georgia, we're still pretty much a seller's market, and it's very strong. What's going to change, though, is that we're going to have fewer buyers as the um, interest rate increases. Fewer people are going to be able to afford the house that they would like to purchase. But it's important to always remember that buying a house is an investment for your now, for your future, for the generational wealth of your family that is yet unborn. So don't get caught up and stuck in what the interest rates are right now today. Marry the house, but date the rate. That's what we say in the real estate industry. Marry the house, get committed to the house, and date the rate. As it goes up, it goes down. You can always refinance what you've already purchased into a lower rate. And you know what else you can do? If you actually own a home, you can rent out one of those rooms to somebody else. We've got all the resources to make it possible to rent for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, a full year. You can do short-term rentals. There's nurses that travel. They like to get a room for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. You've got Airbnb and all of these Vrbo and various different places that you can rent one room in your house for income. And depending on where you live, you could probably pay your mortgage with that one room rental. So tell me, you think about it. Do you think it's better even if you had a small condo with 2 rooms? You think it's better to rent to someone else one of those rooms in that condo? Or do you think it's better to rent a condo in somebody? Do you think it's better to rent one room in someone else's condo? Think about that and decide whether or not you want to wait to get into real estate. You can't play the game if you're on the sidelines. You have to get in it. You have to get in it. Lastly, I'm going to tell you one thing that my uncle told me, and it's gone with me ever since the day he said it. The game changes, talking about the game of life. It changes. You think that you figured out how to play the game, and as soon as you've got it all figured out and you're ready to get in, the rules change. The rules change. And then you got to figure it out again. So just get in. Just get in the game. Get in the game. And as you get in the game and start to play, you'll figure out the rules. And I'll give you an example of just what that could mean as it relates to real estate. So many people were watching in these last 2 years, waiting for this market to crash before they would get back in it. Because the prices were going up, 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 up. And they were afraid, no, I don't want to get in while the prices are going up so high. And so they waited until it leveled off. Now, the interest rate is so high and the prices are super high too, and they still can't get in. So now they're waiting for the prices to come down, but the interest rates are still up and the prices are not going down. So did the rules change? They absolutely changed. So don't wait. If you can get in the game, get on in there. Get on in there. Let's play. I'm Arvelyn Lewis and I sell real estate, and I want to be the one that teaches one. I'm going to be the one that teaches one. As they used to say, each one teach one. If there are questions, ask me. Hit me up in the comments. But if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and watch another one, because I want to make sure that I'm explaining things and making it easy for you. So just go ahead, watch another one. Again, I'm Arvelyn Lewis. I sell real estate.